Hello and welcome back to this Christian Homemaker. My name is Christian, and if you're new here, I share content on biblical womanhood, homemaking, day in the life, baking, what we eat, motherhood, and more. So if that's something you're interested in, I would love for you to subscribe. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing basic sewing skills in hopes to help you start sewing today. I am by no means a professional. However, I self-taught myself over a year ago, and I'm just here to share what I've learned and what I wish I would have known. Before we get started, I would love to share a verse with you. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Psalm 145:8. Top 4 reasons why I think that every homemaker should learn to sew. Number 1, it saves money. Number 2, you can find cheap thrifted fabric from the thrift store. I'm going to be showing you in just a minute what I've thrifted and what I plan on doing with it. This can create outfits or some home decor for your house. You can also find discounted fabric from Hobby Lobby. Number 3, it's a great creative outlet. Number 4, alterations. You can hem up some outfits that you already have to your liking, or even just create something from the outfits that you have. Okay, so those are your top 4 reasons why I think that every homemaker should learn to sew. Let's go over the cost of a machine. For a beginner sewing machine, I would say it would be anywhere from $129 to $250. However, you can look on the marketplace, or you can even ask your grandmother. I was actually passed down my first sewing machine from my grandma, and that is how I started learning. So you can always just go and ask your grandma. You never know, you can even ask your mom. She might even have one that you can practice on. So here's some fabric that I thrifted in the past. Sewing your own clothes after you get your sewing machine and your basic necessities to start sewing, it really can cost you anywhere from $0 to $10. If you were to go thrifting for some fabric, these are some things that I found. I'm going to be using this sheer white fabric for my curtains over here by my door. I'm thinking about making my daughter a romper or something out of this fabric. Throw pillows for my daughter's bed, as well as maybe an outfit. And then I'm also thrifted this cute gingham fabric, which I'm already wearing gingham now, but I'm probably going to make a dress out of it for me and my daughter so we can be matching. These are just a couple of items that I've already sewed. I've sewed several things, but this is just a few. I sewed my daughter this cute little dress, as well as this dress. I got this from some fabric that I thrifted from the thrift store as well and made it into a dress. I made my son some little bubble pants. I thought these were so cute. You can buy patterns off of Etsy. That's where I got this pattern to this dress. The pattern costs $3 maybe, and then I thrifted the fabric, and the fabric costs probably $2 or $3. So there, that kind of gives you an idea of what it costs to create this outfit. Moving into the basic necessities for sewing, you're going to need some thread, and I like to use polyester versus cotton, but those are the two that you can use. Also, some sewing pins. That's going to hold your fabric together. You're also going to need a seam ripper. This is a must because if you mess up, you're able to just take the seams right out and start over. You're also going to need a few bobbins because if you're changing out colors, you don't want to just waste thread. You are also going to need machine sewing needles. You can purchase universal needles. This is because needles wear out and sometimes they break. You're going to need some measuring tape to measure yourself or fabric or any type of projects, as well as some safety pins. This will help the elastic get through the waistband. The next thing you're going to need is, I did show you some rotary cutters. However, you don't have to have this, but I definitely like it and recommend it. But the main thing you're going to need is some really good scissors, but just be careful. Don't cut anything other than your fabric with it because then you'll ruin it. And that's really it for your basic necessities to start sewing. Moving on to our machine. This is just where the bobbin goes. It's called a bobbin holder. Here is your upper tension thread. I like to keep it around 3 or 4. That's because that's just standard. This is your hand wheel. This just moves your needle up and down. I'm going to show you right here. Down and up, just using my hand wheel over there. This is the different stitches that my sewing machine comes with. that you can stitch with. The most popular standard ones are straight stitch and zigzag. Now we're going to wind up our bobbin. So I'm just going to stick my thread on the spool pin. And then we're going to take that thread through the thread guide, and you can follow it has an image on top of your machine. You can just follow that will show you exactly how to wind it around the thread guide. And then you're just going to take that thread and you're going to stick it in one of the little holes in your bobbin. You'll see it if you're looking close at your bobbin. You'll see one little hole. You'll just stick it through there. Okay, and then you're just going to stick your bobbin onto your bobbin. And then you're just going to push it over, and then down on the ground you have your little foot presser. You're just going to put your foot down on that and it will wind up your bobbin, and when it gets full it will stop on its own. Then you're just going to cut it, and there you go. You have your bobbin all winded up. Now I'm going to show you how you place it into the bobbin holder when it has thread on it. So you're just going to follow, like I said, it shows you on your machine how to thread it properly. You'll put it through that little hole, director, whatever you want to call it. Then you drag it on around. You're just following that guide. And then once you get it, it has a little cutter right there, and it just cuts right off. And then you just put your little plastic piece protector back over it. And now I'm showing you how to thread it around your machine. You just, like I said, there's lines on the machine. Go down that first little slot, then around, and then you go up and then around again, and then all the way down. Okay, now we're going to thread our needle. So you're just going to take that thread and put it under that little lip right there and push down your lever on your left hand while you're holding your thread in your right. Take the thread to the needle hole, and there, as you're letting go slowly with your left hand on that lever, it's going to pull that thread right through the needle hole. Make sure you're doing this slowly because it might take a couple times. A computerized machine will tell you what foot to use. I'm using a J foot. Most machines come with different feet, but the standard for like a straight stitch would be a J foot. There's a lever on the back of the machine that will move that presser foot up and down. As you can see, as I'm moving the lever, the foot is going up and down. I am sewing a throw pillow for my couch. So right here, I'm just putting my fabric together with those pins so that everything stays together when I'm sewing. I'm lining my fabric up on the needle plate where it says 5/8, which will give me a half a seam allowance, which is standard for beginners. I am doing a straight stitch and will stitch it forward 3 to 4 times, and then doing a back stitch 3 to 4 times to lock that stitch in so it won't come undone. That button I pushed was the back stitch on my machine. Then you're going to continue doing a straight stitch. Never look at the needle, always look at the lines on the needle plate. I am finished sewing, so now I'm going to do the same thing I did in the beginning. Once I get to the end of my sewing project, I will do a back stitch 3 to 4 times and then straight stitch to lock the stitch in. To keep the ends from fraying, I'm going to be doing a zigzag stitch. I will line it up on the presser foot and begin doing the same thing that I did with the straight stitch. Once I get to the end, I'm going to do the same thing I showed you earlier. I'm just going to do a back stitch about 3 or 4 times and then go forward to just lock that stitch in. Before I turn my pillowcase inside out, I'm going to cut off the corners, but be careful not to cut your stitches. And this is what it looks like after you get done sewing. You can see my straight stitch and my zigzag stitch. This is the finished product. I will eventually have 2 throw pillows, but I need to go back and buy another yard before I can do that. However, I think it turned out great. I saved money and it matched the new rug we just got. Well, that was the end of today's video. I hope that you were inspired to learn to sew. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye!